All right, my math friends, we are continuing on with Chapter 8. We have Lesson 8.4b, and we are going to be working on word problems, and we're going to be doing the same thing we did on Friday. We're going to use that same exact shortcut I showed you, but this time we're just going to apply it to some word problems. Okay, so here's our first word problem. We have the Simon family. They went to a concert and an art museum. Okay, so we have the cost for the concert tickets, which are right here, and then we have the cost for the trip to the museum, which is going to be right there. All right, now, just like in our other word problems for Chapter 8, we need to look at our question to tell us what our x and y is going to be. Okay, so we're on step 1. We need to identify our x, identify our y. Okay, look to our question. It's going to tell you what your x and y is. You are trying to find out how many adults, okay, that's going to be x, we'll just call it x, and how many children are in the Simon family. Okay, children are going to be y, adults are going to be x. Okay, so now let's set up our two equations. We are going to set up one equation for the concert, and then we'll set up a second equation for the museum. All right, our first equation we'll put down for the concert. All right, and the concert, what we want to look for is what is our total cost? What is the total we are trying to reach? And for the concert, we are trying to get to $138.25. Okay, that is the cost we are trying to reach. And if we look at the concert tickets, they were $24. $0.75 for adults, all right, $24.75 for each adult, plus $16 for the children, all right? So there's our total cost to go to the concert. We had that much for each adult, that much for each child, and it came out to $138.25. Okay? Now, let's check out what we have for the museum. Okay, the museum is going to be our second equation, and for the museum, the total we are trying to reach is $42.75. All right, there's my total cost for the museum. Now let's take a look at how much it costs for each adult and each child so we can set up our equation. The adults were $8.25. So that's going to be 825x, and the children were $4.50 each. Okay, so I have 4.5y. All right, so I have my cost for the museum, and then I have the cost for the concert. I have my two equations. We just did step number 2. We made our two equations. All right, we're working on step number 3. All right, we are building the system. We're on step number 3. So, now that I built my two equations, I want to use that nice shortcut that we did on Friday, and I want to try and find one of these equations I want to find a number that I can multiply one of these equations by so that I can get at least the x's or the y's to cancel out. I want either the x's or the y's to cancel. Okay? And if I'm looking at this, if I take my second equation for the museum, all right, if I use the museum equation, and if I multiply that equation by -3, all right, I'm going to drop a -3 bomb onto this equation. Okay, drop a -3 bomb onto that equation because remember, my goal is I want to get these x's to cancel out. So I want the numbers to be the same. I want to make this number become 24.75. And I also want it to be the opposite. So I want it to be the same, and I want it to be the opposite. So if I multiply the whole entire equation by -3, okay, that is going to allow me to cancel out my x's. All right? So let's multiply that, and then let's see what we get. Okay, I'm going to multiply it. So we're going to get -24.75x minus, and then we're going to get 13.5y and that's going to equal -128.25. Okay, that's what that would come out to. All right, now I'm going to work on step number 4. I'm going to start solving this, and I'm going to use that nice trick we've been using, that very nice shortcut of stack and add. Okay, we're going to stack these up, and then we're going to add them together. All right, so I'm going to take this equation on top, and I'm just going to bring it down here so that I can stack it up and then add them together. All right, so if I stack this, I'm going to write this down on the bottom. 24.75x plus 16y equals $138.25. All right, I just stacked it up. I have everything lined up. The x's are lined up, the y's, the numbers are lined up. Now we can just add them together. All right, so if we add that, our x's cancel out. That's exactly what we wanted. Our y's are going to come out to 2.5. All right, and then my numbers are just going to come out to 10. All right, perfect. Now it's looking like something very simple that we can solve. We're just going to divide 10 by 2.5. And when I do that, y is going to come out to 4. Okay, so y came out to 4. So that tells me that each child ticket, or excuse me, that tells me that there are 4 children in the Simon family. All right, we got 4 kids in the Simon family. Now I need to solve for x. So what I can do is, now that I know that y equals 4, I can take this 4 and I can put it into either one of these equations for y. It doesn't matter which one we use. All right, I'm going to go with the top one because I think it looks a little better doing that. So I'm going to take 4 and I'm going to replace it with y, and then that will allow me to solve for x. Okay, so if I multiply 16 by 4, I'm going to get 64. So my new equation will be 24.75x plus 64 equals $138.25. Okay, now I'm just going to go through my steps. I'm going to solve for x. Take away 64. Take away 64 on this side. Okay, and we're left with, I am running out of room. I'm going to extend it back up here. Okay, so I am left with, once I subtract that, I get $74.25. And then over here, I still have my 24.75x. Okay, perfect. Last step, we're almost done, guys. We need to divide by 24.75. That'll let that cancel. We're going to divide this by 24.75. And when we do that, it'll tell us how many adults we have. Okay, and we get x equals 3. All right, so there were 3 adults in the Simon family, and then there were 4 children. Okay, that went to the museum and the concert. All right, same steps as we did Friday. It's nothing different. We're just taking a word problem and setting this up. All right, let's take a look at the next problem. Okay, this one's a try this. Try and set this one up on your own. Find your x and y. Look at your 2 equations. Try and find out what your 2 equations are, and then use that shortcut to try and solve for x and y and see what you got. All right, Miss Monier, give them some time to work on this, and then we will take a look at what the answer is. Pause the video. Class, you guys can work on this, and then we'll take a look at what the answer is. Here's our equation for Jason. This is our equation that we came out with for Seth. Okay, I wanted to multiply. I want to get them to cancel out, do my stack and add, so I multiplied that by -2. When I do that, here's my 2 equations that I have now. Okay, then I just stack and add. And I get down to this, divide, y comes out to 0.5. Plug that back into the equation for Seth. I decided to use that one. I did the math up here to solve for x, and I get 0.75 for x. Okay, so what this is telling us is that they would run for 0.75 of an hour. Okay, so 3/4 of an hour, which would come out to 45 minutes. And they biked for a half an hour, so 30 minutes. Okay, so it gives us, it shows us how long that they ran and how long that they biked to do this race. All right, that's it for today. Your homework assignment is on the board. Go ahead and get started on that, please.
hip.